The dawn over Winterfell broke pale and indifferent. A chalk-smudged horizon pressed against ramparts rimed in hoarfrost. Smoke slithered from the forges, carrying the tang of burning spruce into air so cold it rang like brittle glass. Beneath the quiet towers, guards stamped their boots and wiped beards crusted with ghost-white rime. Yet in the courtyard stood Arya Stark, alone save for the ragged hush of her breath, running needle through the morning in a dance as tireless as the seasons. She moved without flourish, every thrust measured, every pivot drawn from a well of discipline drilled into muscle and bone across years of flight, loss, and practiced anonymity. The blade's slim point kissed emptiness with each extension, and as she withdrew, she exhaled names no lips could hear save her own. A ledger written on cold air: Cersei Lannister, Ilyn Payne, Melisandre. The list had grown shorter through blood and chance, but it lingered a litany of old debts. When she paused, sweat steaming against the chill, another figure watched from the archway where stone met shadow. No boot crunched, no cloak whispered, only the faintest stirring of heat and the subtle scent of cedar oil announced Melisandre of Asshai. The red woman's eyes, reddy brown as clotted wine, held the flicker of firelight, though no torch was near. Her scarlet silks, thawed by unseen warmth, hung untroubled by the wind that gnawed at Arya's cheeks. Girl. The word drifted out. Soft velvet stretched over iron. You dance at sunrise as if pursued by night. Arya neither bowed nor sheathed her sword. I'm not a girl, she answered, voice a shard chipped from ice. And I am pursued by nothing. On both counts we disagree. Melisandre stepped forward. Between them lay a spray of frost, still unbroken by footfall, as though the cold itself feared her passage. I have sought you across smoke and snow. The Lord of Light showed me your face upon the waves of the fire. She touched her own cheek, a gesture almost tender. Many faces, in truth, yet beneath them all, one flame. Arya thought of the corridors in the House of Black and White, of masks peeled from the dead and worn by the living. Her shoulders stiffened. The fire lies, she said, echoing Jaqen's warning. Or it tells riddles. All true visions arrive clothed in riddle, Melisandre replied. But they are no lies. She withdrew a glove. Her hand, pale as milk glass, hovered. Will you let me look upon your steel? Arya lifted needle an inch. Why? To weigh the measure of things. Melisandre's mouth curved in a crescent that was not a smile. Names carve us as surely as blades. Yours is forged of vengeance. Yet vengeance can melt and take new form. She opened her hand, and Arya saw a scatter of ash upon the woman's palm. Ash, but warm, smoking faintly in the cold. Needle's tip wavered. My sword stays with me, Arya said. Though curiosity tugged her forward. If you want steel, find your own. Melisandre nodded once, as though the exchange itself satisfied a calculation. So it shall be. Come to the Godswood at dusk. There is something you must witness. She turned, scarlet fabric blooming behind her, and drifted away like a candle's last plume. Arya watched until the red vanished into stone hall in shadow. Sheathing needle, she flexed fingers gone half numb from chill. Her gloves were sweat-slick within. A tremor, not of fear, but of recognition, shivered through her blood. Years ago, outside the Riverlands Inn, this same woman had claimed they would meet again. Nothing in Arya wished for that prophecy fulfilled. Yet Melisandre's reappearance felt less like fate than inevitability. Mendem Shao. Through the day, Winterfell busied itself with small labors that felt enormous in the wake of war's exhaustion. Smiths rang hammers over shattered helms recast for fresh defense. The glass gardens repaired in shards, nursed limp shoots of winter greens. Within the great hall, Sansa held council. Grain ledgers, levy totals, treaties mended. Bran drifted silent in his wheeled chair, eyes elsewhere. Arya joined briefly, listening but unspeaking, her thoughts snagged on dusk's approach. By afternoon's waning light, she slipped from hall to courtyard, then along mossy walls to the Godswood. Snow-muffled footfalls. It fell in star-fine flurries, as though the sky dandled ashes over the world. Beneath the great weirwood the heart tree waited. Red leaves faded toward rust, its bleached trunk carved with a face forever weeping. Melisandre knelt at the tree's base. Before her rested a bronze brazier etched with twisting flames, burning bright though no coal fed it. She fed the fire nothing but breath, and still it licked high. Beside her lay a bundle wrapped in crimson cloth. "You came," she said without turning. "I came to watch," Arya answered. "Then watch." Melisandre unfolded the bundle. Within glimmered a dagger of dragon glass, black as moonless water. Its surface swallowed light, yet at its core sparks crimson crawled, like coals under obsidian. This blade knows darkness. Even so, in fire it may be remade. Melisandre. Arya's muscles tightened. That stone kills walkers. There are no walkers left. The dead walk in caverned hearts, long after flesh falls still. Melisandre cupped the dagger, lifting it over the brazier. Flame kissed the dragon glass. Scarlet motes raced across the black, tracing fissured runes. Arya smelled brimstone and myrrh, and something older, like damp tombs. "Tell me, child of winter, what is it you seek?" For a heartbeat, Arya thought to lash out. "I seek justice. I seek my family safe. I seek the night quiet of names undone." But her tongue clove to the roof of her mouth. In the hush, she heard snow sigh upon branches. Distant forges clanged. A raven croaked once, then was silent. What did she truly seek? The list had guided her steps so long she scarce recalled the shape of want beyond it. Melisandre set the dragonglass aside. Her gaze rested on Arya, alight with gentle ruin. Great power stands upon a threshold, she murmured. The long night broke, yet shards of it spin still. The flame within you may be the spark that reshapes the world. Or scorch is it beyond remaking? "And you think I'm your prince? Your Azor Ahai?" Arya asked, half sarcastic, half afraid. "I thought once he must be a prince." Melisandre's lips parted, and the words seemed to pain her. But prophecies twist to their own ends. They spoke of a hero reborn beneath falling stars, amidst salt and smoke. "I saw you birthed from smoke at the twins after the red wedding. Salt upon your cheeks, a spirit reborn through death's embrace." Arya felt her throat constrict. Memory of Hound's axe, of cold river on her face, of resurrections less literal, and more unending. She said only, "If you're wrong again, then darkness claims us both." Melisandre's hands folded. "Would you see?" "See what?" "Your flame." She indicated the brazier. "Step close and gaze, not with eyes of flesh, but with the eyes that change faces." Arya hesitated. She remembered the warmth of many-faced candles, the way vision blurred between one identity and the next. Slowly she knelt opposite the red woman. Heat billowed. It forced tears from her eyes. Images rippled across flame. Swirling banners, a blade ablaze, a sea of faces chanting a name she did not yet know. She reached forward, then jerked back, for the fire bloomed white and devoured all color. When the glare dimmed, the god's wood lay still. Melisandre had extinguished the brazier with a gesture. Arya's heartbeat thundered like hooves in her ears. "You saw," Melisandre said. Arya swallowed. "I saw nothing clear. All first visions are smoke." The priestess folded cloth over the dragon glass. "Return tomorrow, when the moon is high. Bring no steel but your own heart. We will kindle greater fires." Arya stood, the earth beneath her feeling less certain than moments before. "Why me?" "Because no other can bear what is required." Melisandre's eyes glimmered as if reflecting flames still present. The world was saved once by the edge of a girl's knife. Salvation is seldom finished after a single stroke, only delayed. You are a sword yet unquenched. Now. That night, Arya lay sleepless in the chamber she shared with no one. She stared at rafters, cross-hatched against a murk of candlelight. Needle rested on its hooks, Yet her mind roamed beyond that frail length of steel to limbs and faces and halls she had worn like garments. She thought of Nymeria vanishing into the wolf's wood, of Yoren's rough voice teaching reprieve through repetition, of the many-faced god's chapel where stillness posed as peace. Each memory felt like a rung ascending toward a precipice she had not known existed. Now Melisandre offered another rung, one coated in flame. Azor Ahai. Hero birthed of light and sorrow, forging a sword through the heart of a lover. The thought turned her stomach. If heroism demanded that price, was it heroism or cruelty? She slept at last but dreamed waking dreams. Of direwolves crowned in living fire, of her father's shade beside a weirwood bleeding molten sap. He spoke, but his words were drowned by wind crying through hollow swords. Melisandre. Moonrise found Arya cloaked in grey wool, descending to catacomb depths beneath Winterfell. She had avoided the crypts since childhood memories of chill statues watching through stone eyes. Now she walked among the kings, struck by the familiarity of her own footfalls, echoing down the corridor, lined with the dead of House Stark. The air tasted of dust and frozen earth. At the crypt of Lyanna Stark she paused. Her aunt's likeness lay serene, a promise unfulfilled. Roses of dry petals draped the hands carved across marble breast. Arya thought of Rhaegar's song, of Robert's rebellion, of vows twisted. Lightbringer forged thrice, the first tempering, the second failure, the third success only through sacrifice. Suppose, she wondered, a sacrifice were offered in advance. Could doom be amended? A soft crimson glow touched the crypt walls. Melisandre emerged, carrying no torch. Flame haloed her bare hands. "You come armed with questions," the priestess observed. "Answers would be better." Arya drew closer. "They come only through fire." Melisandre reached to trace Lyanna's stone cheek. This woman died for love thought true. A ghost long guiding realms unwitting. She faced Arya. "Will you die for a realm you barely know?" "I've died enough," Arya said. "Teach me how to live. Then give me your name." That startled her. "Which one?" "Your name stripped of lists and vengeance. The name that beats in quiet moments when no one watches." Arya answered before she could think. "Arya." She whispered, the syllables a footprint unblotted by snow. "Arya, Dotai." Melisandre tasted it. A name of old kings and quiet power. "Very well." She extended a hand. Within her palm, a coal burned that did not consume flesh. "Place your hand upon mine." Heat seared before contact, yet Arya did not flinch. Her fingers met the priestess's, clasped as swords crossing. Fire licked her skin, traveled up veins like molten rivers. She felt her eyes widen but forced herself still. Pain blossomed. Sharp, cleansing. She thought of Syrio Forel. Fear cuts deeper than swords. She would not fear. The coal dissolved into cinders that swirled about their joined hands, forming runes in the dark. Melisandre spoke in the tongue of Ashai, each word a bell tolling across silence. The cinders drifted to Arya's wrist, etching fine lines that glowed then vanished beneath skin. A brand burned where none showed. "It is done," Melisandre breathed. She released Arya, who staggered, catching the crypt wall for support. "You carry the spark inside you now. A piece of the Arlor's divine fire. When next we stand beneath open night, we will draw it forth. Lightbringer must be born anew. Then see." Arya flexed her hand. The flesh unscarred yet tingled. "Am I some vessel then?" "Not vessel wielder." Melisandre's gaze held equal parts awe and sorrow. Azor Ahai forged his blade through unthinkable sacrifice. "You must decide which bonds you temper and which you break." Arya thought of those she loved. Sansa, Bran, Jon. She imagined plunging a blade through any of them and tasted bile. "I will not kill my family. Prophecy is a river. It finds courses unexpected. Remember, Arya Stark. Sacrifice wears many masks." In the days that followed, Winterfell brimmed with uneasy hush. Word spread of Melisandre's return like smoke curling under doors. Davos Seaworth muttered darkly that the Red Woman brought ruin in her train and would again. Jon, brooding upon battlements, spoke little but watched the priestess stride hallways with lips pressed thin. Sansa's courtesy cloaked suspicion. Bran offered no opinion, yet his eyes lingered too long upon Melisandre's retreating form, as if tracing threads only he perceived. Arya attended councils, sparred with Brienne until bruises bloomed, walked the godswood nightly. Each dusk the brazier flared brighter, fed not by wood but by prayers and bloodless offerings. Dried berries, strands of Arya's hair, tears caught in chalices of obsidian. Visions followed. A stag crowned in ice, 3 dragons spiraling around a black sun, a red comet piercing an ocean of night. Always the same refrain beneath: open your eyes, child of shadow. Sleep became patchwork. She awoke once to pale flame crawling across her palms, vanishing when she blinked. Another dawn found her breath steaming not white, but faintly red. She concealed these signs, unsure whether to fear or covet them. On the 6th night, the brazier roared high enough to throw scarlet across the heart tree's face. Melisandre drew the dragon-glass dagger, and with words older than recorded speech, pressed its edge to Arya's forearm. A single bead of blood fell into the fire. The flame shrieked, twisting shapes. A sword burning, a wolf with burning eyes, a girl standing upon a wall of night, with blade raised skyward. A wind howled, though the godswood lay sheltered. Snow whirled into vortices that hissed against the brazier. The weirwood groaned like timber torn in storm. Sap seeped crimson from its carved eyes. Arya's vision blurred. She saw her own body wreathed in living fire, shadows stretching tall behind her. The list of names poured from her in a rush, echoes streaming upward, carried into darkness. One by one they extinguished like embers in water, until none remained save her own. Needle clattered from her grasp. Forgotten. Light burst outward. When her sight cleared, the brazier lay cold, nothing but blackened iron. On its rim rested the dragon-glass dagger, but transformed. Its surface now shone translucent, veins of pale gold pulsing like a heartbeat. The core glowed with steady, fervent light. Melisandre's expression danced between triumph and dread. "Not Lightbringer, not yet," she whispered, "but a shard of what must be. The forging begins." Arya knelt, fingertips hovering over the blade's warmth. She heard the hum of it, a note pitched to blood and bone. Part of her exulted, part recoiled. Power was never without price. She, of all, should know. Bedintu. Morning light found the castle uneasy. Ravens had taken wing in the night, their cries ragged. Jon cornered Arya outside the armory. "What did she do to you?" he demanded, eyes fever bright. "I smell sorcery in every hall." Arya looked at him. Brother, not brother, friend, perhaps more, and chose half-truth. "She's teaching me to see." To see what? A storm coming. One beyond armies and walls. She thought of burning seas. "Let me stand against it." Jon gripped her shoulders. "If you burn for her cause, you may not return. That's my road to walk." Arya tried to smile, but the curve was thin as paper. "I have crossed darker roads." He released her, frustration taut in the line of his jaw. "Promise me you'll remember who you are." "I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell." She said. "And I serve the realm we bled to save." That answer satisfied neither. Mander. The moon waxed heavy, pregnant with omens. On the 9th night, Melisandre summoned Arya beyond the walls. They rode north, 2 cloaked figures slipping through dusky silence. Past the burned husk of last year's battlefield, where pyres had blazed against the dead. White mists crawled over unmarked graves, settling among broken spearheads, like ghosts in congregation. There, atop a rise where the sky opened vast and star-cluttered, a circle of oil-soaked beams rose, Rude timber, arranged to form a pyre. At its center stood a weirwood branch stripped of leaves, its pale bark whorled with crimson sap. Got. Around the circle strangers waited. Silent followers in red sashes, faces hidden. Arya's pulse hammered at the sight. Who are they? Witnesses, Melisandre replied. Faith requires eyes to record miracle. A brazier stood ready. Melisandre touched it. Flame curled. Shadows writhed, towering. She drew the transformed dagger, now radiant from within, and placed it at the pyre's base. Blood feeds fire, she intoned. Fire purifies shadow. Shadow forges light. The disciples began to chant, soft, rhythmic, syllables older than kingdoms. Arya felt the air thicken, oppression molten. Her skin prickled where unseen brands pulsed. Melisandre faced her. To awaken Lightbringer, a hero must temper steel in the heart of the one they love. Yet love is many-shaped. A heart may beat within flesh, but so too within oath, within destiny. Tonight, you will temper your blade in your own heart. Die to be reborn. Thou. Arya's breath caught. She glanced at the dagger aglow. You want me, too? Not flesh death. Fire-day death. Melisandre extended her hands. Step into the flame. Surrender, shadow. Rise, wielding dawn. Arya stared at the pyre. Memories cascaded, twisting corridors of the Red Keep, laughter of her brothers chasing cats, the smell of warm bread in Winterfell kitchens, the tickle of Bran's giggle in summer grass. She tasted winter wind, foreign wine, charred meat on Braavosi docks, copper of blood on her tongue. All paths led here, to a decision no list had prepared her for. Syrio's voice whispered, "What do we say to the god of death?" Arya answered inside, "Not today." And yet this was not the god of death calling. This was fire promising rebirth. She stepped forward. Oh. Heat bludgeoned at once. The pyre towered before her, sparks spiraling into night. The dagger blazed near white bright. Flames licked her boots, ran hungrily up wool. Pain burst like a starfield across nerves, but pride kept her silent. She remembered the hound's lesson. A girl can be hurt, but Arya Stark endures. Fire crawled higher, devouring cloak, tunic. She smelled scorched leather, felt hair singe, yet deeper still, a countercurrent surged. Cool, fierce, the icy marrow of the north meeting southern flame. The two collided, mingled, birthed something new. Neither winter nor fire, but balance. She gasped, and breath became a column of embers swirling skyward. Voices of the watchers rose, a hymn crescendoing. The dragon-glass dagger pulsed rhythm with her heartbeat. Melisandre's chant soared. Behold the child of shadow, forged anew in light. Azor Ahai, arise. Arya reached for the dagger. Its handle scorched none. Closing fingers around it, she drew the blade up. Light poured outward. Sheathing her arm, coursing along veins, pain fell away like broken shackles. The pyre's flames muted, replaced by a sphere of hovering cinders circling her body, obeying unheard command. In the dagger's glow she saw her reflection, eyes no longer gray but ember-rimmed. Skin glimmered faintly with runes beneath the flesh. A hush fell. Even the wind dared not breathe. What am I? Arya asked, voice echoing inside a vastness she had never known. Melisandre fell to one knee, eyes shimmering with tears of rapture and dread. You are the sword and the flame, she whispered. You are hope forged from vengeance. Azor Ahai, come again. Arya looked at the watchers. Faces upturned, Aurak struck, and felt a vertigo of destiny. She thought of the lives behind her and the darkness ahead. Power thrummed within, yet responsibility weighed heavier than any blade. She could feel the dagger's will, urging action, hungering for tempered purpose. What do I burn? She murmured. That is yours alone to decide, Melisandre answered. Arya Stark stood beneath a night, ablaze with born-again stars. Sword of living unbreakable light in her grasp, and felt the yawning breadth of paths uncounted. In one direction lay salvation, in another, ruin. The flame offered no certainty, only choice. She exhaled, and from her lips drifted sparks that painted prophecy on the dark. Sea. Somewhere south, in the hush of Dragonstow's cryptolite chamber, a candle guttered though no breeze blew. Down in King's Landing, Cersei dreamt of wolves aflame stalking shattered streets. Beyond the shivering sea, a pirate watched the northern lights bleed red and shuddered at an omen he could not name. And north of the wall, where none now dared roam, something in deep ice stirred, sensing heat it despised. Now, Winterfell received the travelers at dawn. The townsfolk whispered of a glow upon the horizon before sunrise, as if new day were born too soon. Arya rode ahead, cloaked in ash-stained gray. The transformed dagger rested sheathed at her hip. Hidden, Jon met her before the gate. Their eyes locked. For a moment brother and sister weighed the measure of the stranger returned in familiar skin. Arya? It was half question, half plea. I'm here, she said. And it was both truth and not. He reached to clasp her forearm. Where flesh met, he flinched at a warmth beyond natural. Arya saw questions churn but offered none. Not yet. Above them the weirwood banners snapped in a wind bearing scent of distant smoke. Them? That night, Arya stood alone upon the battlements. She drew the dagger. Its glow dimmed beneath her will, embering soft. The blade felt alive, thrumming with potential. She wondered how many lives would trace lines upon its edge. She wondered what it would cost to write the ending she desired. Behind her, soft steps approached. Sansa, I heard you went north with her, Sansa said quietly. The Red Woman. People say the sky burned. Arya did not turn. People see shapes in clouds. Perhaps. Sansa's breath plumed. But I know the look in your eyes when you carry a secret too heavy for one heart. At that Arya faced her, and the dagger's light glimmered, reflected in Sansa's pupils. For a heartbeat neither spoke. Then Arya slid the blade away. Whatever you've become, Sansa murmured. Remember we are Starks. The North, our people, have borne enough fire. Fire may be all that stands between them and nightfall, Arya answered. Yet inside, uncertainty billowed like storm cloud. In the distance, the last light of day died behind forests black with winter. Arya Stark rested her hands upon cold stone, feeling warmth pulse beneath her skin. Azor Ahai reborn, or forged anew by a woman who saw truths in flame. Either path, the story had only begun. And, far below the castle, in corridors seldom trod, a draft whispered through cracks in granite, older than memory. Faint embers floated in its wake, dying too soon to be more than omen. Rats skittered from the heat. At the heart of that labyrinth, no eye saw the glimmer as an ancient iron gate shivered. Touched by warmth it had not felt in 1,000 years. Dust cascaded like snowfall. One hinge creaked, a sigh of waking. Beyond lay darkness unbroken, waiting for the first footfall of light or shadow. Come Dendi. The days that followed Arya's descent into fire formed a tapestry of uneasy quiet, stitched through with threads of rumor. Servants whispered that the forge chimneys smoked red by night, though no smiths toiled past dusk. A milkmaid swore she spied ghost-bright sparks dancing across the surface of the Godswood pool, yet when she brought others to look, only the moon's pale reflection lapped within. Children, quick to sense tremors beneath adult restraint, gave Arya wide berth in corridors, as if something about her shadow bit back. Every dawn she woke before the citadel bells toll, heart thrumming in time with the blade that lay beneath her cot. She dared not keep it sheathed upon the wall, Jon would question. Sansa's chambermaids would gossip. Instead, she wrapped it in oiled felt and slept with it tucked beneath the straw mattress. Even so, dim light seeped through its layers, pulsing like a heartbeat beneath her spine. When she closed her eyes, the glow bled upward, painting her dreams with molten shapes. Doors of flame opening onto rooms thick with ash, and on the far side an uncountable host of faces suspended like lanterns. Some dear, some long dead, some still to come. On the third morning she found Bran waiting in the godswood. He sat beneath the weirwood's carved visage, wheels of his chair sunk into hoarfrost. A raven perched upon the branch above him, feathers rimed in ice that did not melt despite the faint flush of dawn. "You kept secrets better when we were children," he said by way of greeting. Arya stiffened. "I never kept them from you." "That is true." Bran's eyes were deeper than the reflecting pool now, fathomless and slow. "The fire changed the pattern of your thread in the tapestry. It blazes so brightly, I can scarcely look. Can you see where it leads?" "Not yet. You stand at a crossing of many paths, more than most." His gaze drifted toward her wrapped wrist, where runes glimmered beneath glove leather. "Do you feel the pull?" She hesitated. "I feel purpose. It beats underneath everything. But purpose without shape." She exhaled fog. "If you can see threads, guide me." Bran's smile was gentle and bleak. "If I tug too hard, it may snap. Some knots untie themselves only by tightening first." He reached out, touched the bark beside him. A slurry of snow fell. "Guard your heart, Arya. Fire consumes as easily as it warms." That afternoon, with snowflakes swirling like shaken feathers, Arya answered a summons to the great hall. Sansa presided at a long table strewn with parchments. To her left sat Alys Karstark and Lyanna Mormont. Opposite them, Davos Seaworth and Gendry Baratheon consulted a crude map of the Trident. Jon stood behind the group, arms folded tight, as though he'd forgone leather jerkin for harder armor. Suspicion. "Arya, Dot." Sansa gestured to an empty chair. "We're hearing whispers out of the Riverlands, burned villages along the Red Fork. Witnesses claim bands of sellswords carry torches that burn blue-white." She tapped the map. "No ordinary raiders leave wounds that will not close. Maester Walken suggests alchemical fire, perhaps leftover from Cersei's stores. Or something older." "Ben?" Davos cleared his throat. The descriptions fit wildfire poorly. "Aye. It burns green, not sky blue." Arya pictured the cold flames of the walkers, the eerie shimmer that once lit the field outside Winterfell. She forced composure. "How many reports?" "6 villages," Alice answered, voice low. "Survivors claim to see figures cloaked in rime walking within the blaze." Jon's gaze pinned Arya. "Could remnants of the dead have reformed?" "We burned every corpse." "Almost every," Davos muttered. "Dragonglass weapons still exist in caches from the war," Gendry added. "If the threat rises again, we'll need them." Sansa laced fingers together. "That's why I called you, sister. Your new training may lend insight." She phrased it carefully, as though naming a viper. The weight of their attention settled on Arya. She fought the urge to retreat behind sarcasm. "I can ride south, scout firsthand." Jon frowned. "Alone?" Arya's answer came crisp. "A lone rider slips easier than a bannered party. Let me take Gendry. He owes me blacksmith's eyes. 2 riders. Swift horses, no house sigils. Nemdir." Sansa looked between them. "It risks much." "So does ignorance," Arya replied. She felt the dagger's warmth at her hip respond, as if goading. "We leave at sunset." "No." Gendry spent the afternoon hammering steel into nails for a wagon axle to cloak his true preparations. Reforging spare dragonglass arrowheads into thin-edged short knives. He spoke little, but his sidelong glances carried questions he dared not voice among the forge's many ears. When dusk spilled peach and violet across the sky, they slipped through the Hunter's Gate astride lean northern coursers. Gendry carried a satchel of the secret blades wrapped in linen. Arya bore needle, and hidden within her saddlebags, the luminous dagger whose name she had not yet spoken aloud. Beyond Winterfell's shadow, snow waned, bare earth emerged in patches, pocked by rime. They rode south in haste, each mile eating another hour of winter twilight. By midnight, they crossed the narrowing of the neck, where crannogmen watched from reed huts, half submerged. Torches guttered on distant islands, blinking like wary eyes. None challenged them. Word of stark business traveled faster than riders. On the second dawn, smoke stained the horizon ahead. Thin, lingering rather than rising in fresh columns. The air tasted of cold ashes. Ravens dotted a derelict signpost bearing the sigil of House Vance. Their caws rasped like rusty hinges. Gendry muttered, "7 hells," and urged his horse forward. The village that had once been Maidenpool's western croft now lay a blackened shell. Stone foundations stood rimed in frost, but timbers collapsed inward, charred to the color of forgotten winter fires. Snow drifts glittered, melted in swaths where heat had baked the ground to glassy slag. At the settlement's north edge, the well remained unscathed. Its stones steamed faintly even as ice ringed its lip. Arya dismounted. The hush pressed heavy. The silence of places cowed beyond grief. Then a sound. Breathing. Ragged. She followed it past a toppled cart, to a cellar door flung open. From below rose the stink of scorched flesh and urine. She descended cautiously. Sword drawn. In candle-dim gloom cowered 3 figures. An old woman clutching a toddler to her breast, and a boy perhaps 10. Their eyes widened as Arya's silhouette eclipsed the faint light. The child shrank back. The elder woman lifted her chin with a courage that trembled on brittle bones. "If you've come to finish work, do it," she said, voice a rasp. "I'll not scream." Arya sheathed needle slowly to show peace. "I'm Arya Stark. We ride from Winterfell to learn who did this." Something melted in the woman's stare. Hope or desperation disguised as hope. "Not men," she whispered. "Demons walking the fire." Their eyes were shards of ice, and they carried torches that bled no smoke. Arya knelt, meeting the boy's gaze. "How many?" "6," he answered, voice paper thin. "They didn't speak. They carried chains." His small hands clenched, remembering. Arya's blood chilled colder than the air. Chains were the walker's hunter's tools, forged of ancient ice. But the dead were gone, weren't they? She thought of the gate deep beneath Winterfell, shifting at some unseen touch. Gendry brought salve and bread from saddlebags. As he tended the trio, Arya ventured outside, scanning horizon in all directions. The snowbank nearest the well bore footprints, 12 impressions, deep yet sharp-edged, as if pressed by weightless force. She crouched. The toe pointed northwest, toward deeper Riverlands territory, and ultimately the Vale's eastern valleys. She pressed a gloved finger into one indentation. Frost rimmed the print's bottom, but at its center lingered a waxing heat. Faint but unmistakable. Fire and ice fused. She rose, dread hammering. Gendry approached. "They'll ride with us to the next village. The maester there can." He halted at her expression. What? "We hunt," Arya said, voice flat. "Tonight." He cursed softly, but did not object. "Then you'll need the thing in your bag." Da. Moonless darkness shrouded them as they tracked the footprints across frozen scrub. Arya's other senses compensated. She smelled cinders where no campfire burned, felt pricks of warmth through glove leather when her hand neared each fading mark. The luminous dagger, now unsheathed and wrapped in folds of cloth, pulsed faintly like a foxfire lantern, revealing a path only she could follow. Past midnight, the footprints converged upon a ruin half swallowed by climbing ivy. It had once been a god's hall, pillars of marble cracked by time and war. Now moonless sky opened through roof bones, bare branches clawing overhead. Within the nave flickered pale cerulean flames along walls defaced with symbols. Spirals within spirals, carved by unknown blades. Figures moved amid the glow. 6 silhouettes dragging chains tipped with hooked teeth of clear crystal. Their bodies wore the ragged leathers of sellswords, but throats and chests radiated inner chill like lanterns. Their faces, once human, now frostbitten beyond death, yet eyes burned azure. Gendry drew breath, laced with fear. It can't be. Quiet. Arya unslung the satchel of dragonglass blades. She whispered, aim for the heart or throat. Shatterbone. If they touch you, ice will take flesh before blood spills. He nodded, jaw grim. They crept to a broken window. Inside, the creatures chanted in guttural harmony, chains rattling rhythm. At the nave's center lay a slab of stone upon which a corpse was spread. Fresh, possibly taken from Maidenpool's croft. The dead man's chest was cut open. Beneath his ribs smoldered blue coals. One walker pressed a hand to the cavity, withdrawing a shard of frosted glass that melted to liquid before cooling into a black-blue gem. Arya's stomach twisted. They were crafting hearts, dark hearts like those born by Night King's lieutenants. New generals for an old war. She and Gendry exchanged a glance. He hefted a dragonglass knife. Arya counted breezes. 1, 2, 3. They burst through the window, shards clattering. Arya landed atop a walker, needle punching through its collarbone. The creature shrieked in a sound like ice fracturing. Gendry hurled his blade into another's eye. It shattered inward, showering frost. Chains whipped. Arya ducked, feeling air freeze above her. She slammed the luminous dagger into a walker's chest. Light erupted, saffron, violent. The creature combusted in silent, swirling ashes. Where the blade pierced, tongues of white gold flame danced, devouring ice, until only a charred husk collapsed. The remaining walkers recoiled, sensing power beyond their ken. One vomited icy mist to extinguish surrounding flames. Frost skittered across stone. Arya advanced. The dagger thrummed, responding to threat like a living thing. She carved a shallow arc. A crescent of fire followed, incinerating the mist and shearing through 2 walkers at once. Gendry finished one with hammer swings laced in obsidian dust, each impact releasing a sharp crack of splitting permafrost. The last walker flung its chain, snagging Arya's wrist. A jolt of deathly numbing cold shot through her arm. Instinct screamed. The dagger's glow surged to blinding and heat flooded back, searing away frost. She yanked the chain, dragging the creature close, then drove the blade up under its jaw. It disintegrated, chain collapsing in molten splinters. Silence fell, broken only by Gendry's ragged breath. Ash drifted, luminous for a heartbeat before settling. Arya stared at the corpse on the slab, chest splayed. Within the cavity, the false heart still pulsed faint cobalt. She stabbed it. A hollow boom echoed. Blue light guttered, extinguished. The slab cracked down the center, and the corpse folded inward like a marionette bereft of strings. Gendry wiped gore from his cheek. Tell me this was the only nest. Arya shook her head. On a far wall, spirals etched in frost glowed, pointing east, west, north, south. A compass of doom. It's a beginning. Men know. At dawn, they reached an abandoned shepherd's croft. Arya built a small fire while Gendry hobbled the horses. Neither spoke for long minutes. Shock clung like drenched wool. Finally, he said, if walkers still exist, the realm must know. Arya fed the flames more twigs. We need proof. Ashes vanish. No one will believe stories of blue fire from 2 travelers. Gendry rummaged in his satchel, producing a shard chipped from a walker's chain. Half-melted iron wreathed now in gray frost. This survived your dagger's light. She took it, felt cold radiate. It may suffice. She studied him. You faced them without fear. He gave a shaky laugh. Fear came later. His gaze flicked to the dagger resting across her lap. Button? "What in seven hells is that blade?" "Forged of dragon glass," she said. It was partly truth. Fire within. Lightbringer? Not yet. She gazed into the fire, seeing lines of destiny curling in the smoke. They rode north, slower to spare the villagers they escorted on a borrowed mule. Around them fields grew pale, frost heavier each dawn though maesters claimed spring should near. White clouds boiled along western horizon. Sometimes faint blue flickers stuttered within them, tempests fueled by unnatural chill. When Winterfell's battlements hove into view 5 days later, relief warred with dread. At the gate, Arya pressed the shard of icy iron into a guard's mailed hands. "Take this to Jon with word. We return from the Riverlands." She did not mention the walkers, only that council must be gathered. In the courtyard, Sansa waited flanked by knights of the Vale. She stepped aside as healers hurried the survivors away, then seized Arya's forearms. "Gods, you look like you ran through wildfire." "We ran through worse." Arya's own voice sounded sun-parched. She felt days older, bones laden with grit. "Summon Jon and Bran. And Melisandre." Sansa's brows knit. "She left Winterfell 2 nights after you rode. Said she must wander to keep the fire from dimming." Arya's stomach dropped. "Where?" She did not say, only that she would return when the smoke cleared paths. Sansa squeezed Arya's hand. "What happened out there?" Arya opened her mouth, then caught Bran approaching. His chair creaked, pushed by Podrick Payne. Bran's eyes fixed on hers, and in that moment he knew. His face emptied of curiosity. What remained was grim resolve. "The long night never ended," Bran whispered. "Only fractured." "Something old stirs deeper than ice. And you, sister, carry the torch that must navigate its caverns." Arya swallowed. "Then we have work." And our night cloaked Winterfell in veils of frost. Arya stood upon the parapet outside her chamber, staring at constellations flickering behind mist. She held the luminous dagger aloft. Its glow beat in time with her heart, a counterpoint to distant thunder that rolled across unseen horizons. Inside she felt 2 voices, one the fierce girl who had whispered names into cold air, the other a nascent fire craving shape, singing of destinies weighed upon blade edges. They entwined, neither dominating yet. She wondered whether forging would devour one to feed the other. Far below, in the dark churn of dreams, she sensed the hidden gate under Winterfell shift again, ever so slightly. Heat and ice, warred in depths uncharted. She sheathed the dagger, turned from the battlements, and stalked down stone steps toward the crypts. If secrets waited beyond that ancient door, she would meet them at sword point, before they rose to claim the night. Dim. Torches guttered as she passed, flaring brighter in her wake. Steam drifted from her breath despite being far underground. She found the black iron gate ajar where once it had been sealed. Frost rimmed its hinges, yet warmth radiated from the seam. 2 opposing forces locked in silent recoil. Drawing the dagger, whispering, groaning metal swung wider. Beyond lay a tunnel carved in the shape of roots, like the weirwood's veins piercing rock. Walls shimmered crystalline white, but bled red sap in rivulets. The path sloped downward, deeper than Winterfell's lowest crypt. Arya stepped through. Darkness swallowed her. The dagger's glow cast long shadows. The air tasted of cold iron and summer smoke, both impossible here. Her heartbeat echoed off stone, returning in unfamiliar cadence, as though another heart beat nearby sharing her rhythm. At the tunnel's nadir opened a cavern vast and vaulted. Stalactites hung like dragon's teeth, each dripping crimson. Across the chamber loomed a lake of still black water that reflected the dagger's light in molten ripples. In its center rose a pedestal of fused obsidian and weirwood, and upon it flickered a pale flame swirling inside a crystal sphere. Arya approached warily. The water lapped at her boots, warm to the touch. It smelled of salt and tears. She skirted around until dry rock offered footing, then ascended the pedestal steps. Within the crystal flame danced shapes, wolves, dragons. A white stag crowed in ivy. Voices whispered. Songs in old tongue. Prayers to the seven. Chants to Ralor. They braided into tapestry. Arya lifted her dagger. Its glow harmonized with the flame, and the sphere responded. Cracks spider-webbed, releasing loops of light that twined around her blade. A tremor rattled the cavern. Water stirred. Images flashed. Bran wreathed in ravens. Sansa upon a throne of ice. Jon confronting a monstrous shadow in a hall of mirrors. Then Melisandre walking a dune of ash, lips cracked, eyes weeping blood. Beyond her, a figure coalesced. Tall, armored in ebon plates fringed with frost. Face obscured save for coals of blue. The figure reached toward Arya, a silent challenge. The flame shrank suddenly, condensing into a small, brilliant ember. It launched into the dagger's core with a sound like a bell rung undersea. The blade flared brighter than noon before dimming to a steady radiance, deeper and calmer than prior. Purpose refined, Arya exhaled. The cavern ceased its tremble. The water calmed, leaving the air vibrating as if after thunder. She turned to leave, but the pedestal's far side revealed runes cut into obsidian. She traced them. They read in the old tongue of the children. When wolf walks in fire, night flees, but dawn must be tempered lest day burn. Beneath, a sigil half worn away. 3 heads of a dragon, above a direwolf's eye. Arya absorbed the warning. Tempered, to cool steel and sacrifice. Her own heart had survived the flame, but dawn's forging remained. She ascended tunnels again. The gate sealed behind her without touch. When she emerged into the lowest crypt hall, a figure leaned upon a sword cane. "Bran, you saw," he said. She nodded. Then time runs shorter. He wheeled back toward Stair, leaving her to follow. Mend. Council convened at first light. Jon. Sansa, Davos, Alice, Tyrion Lannister, who had arrived with trade envoys 2 days prior, and Maester Wolkan gathered around a broad oak table. Bran presided in silence. His presence weighted the room with inevitability. Arya placed the icy shard upon a velvet cloth at the center. Walker chain link, she said, voice echoing. Tyrion leaned close, squinting. I've known Valyrian steel and Lyseni glass, but nothing like this. He flicked a finger. Frost bit his skin, and he cursed softly. Jon exhaled. So the dead remain. Not as armies yet, Arya corrected. They're seating new generals, hearts forged in fire, but blue fire. Someone guides them. Could be one of the sorcerers Melisandre warned against, Davos murmured. She spoke of shadows in the east beyond Ashai, powers jealous of R'hllor's flame. Tyrion arched a brow. Shadow sorcerers, walkers stirring. If ever R'hll needed a hero, this seems the hour. Sansa met Arya's gaze. And my sister stands at the heart of prophecy. Do we trust prophecy or our own judgment? Arya spoke quietly. Trust choice. Prophecy just lays the board. We move the pieces. Bran wheeled up to the shard. His fingers brushed its edge. Frost crawled across his nail beds, then retreated. Beyond the shivering sea rises a glacial range they call the Spears of Night. Something beneath those peaks draws both cold and flame. It calls to the chain-bearers. He looked to Arya. It calls to you too. Arya's pulse thudded. Then that is where I must go. Not alone, Jon stated. Gendry stepped from near the hearth. I'll escort her. Someone needs to keep offending blacksmiths alive. Tyrion made a gesture between jest and toast. Add a Lannister, if only for bookkeeping. I know ships and bribes. Both prove useful beyond the narrow sea. Sansa frowned but nodded. The realm cannot spare too many warriors now. A small party. D. John's eyes smoldered with reluctance. I ride too. Bran shook his head. The North needs a Stark presence. If Arya's quest fails and the threat marches, Winterfell must stand ready. You remain. Then? And John's jaw tightened, but he accepted. Then take Ghost, he said to Arya. The wolf knows shadow and snow. Her chest squeezed. To ride with the direwolf felt right. Wolf walking with fire. She inclined her head. Thank you, John. Preparations spun into motion. Charts plotted along Braavos shipping lanes, caches of dragonglass unearthed. Ravens dispatched to Old Town for texts on Azor Ahai and ancient fire rites. Gendry hammered light shields, laced with obsidian dust, forging links of chainmail that would repel extreme cold. Tyrion secured passage aboard a Braavosi cog, the Silver Swan, captained by a woman who traded in silk and secrets. That night, Arya slipped into the mews where Ghost lay curled beneath furs. The direwolf lifted his head, amber eyes reflecting lamplight. She knelt, pressing forehead to his broad skull. He chuffed, breath warm as hearth fires. No words passed, yet bond tightened. A covenant older than kingdoms between Stark and Wolf. Nenderwan. On the eve of departure, Melisandre returned. She appeared at twilight outside Winterfell's open gate, walking unescorted across snow that hissed beneath each footstep, as if reluctant to let her pass. Her ruby choker pulsed softly, but her eyes looked dimmed, twin embers near quenching. Snowflakes melted upon her lashes, leaving wet streaks like tears. At the courtyard's center, and more maused. Feeble torches painted her shadow long. Guards braced, but she lifted one hand, palm upward in token of peace. Arya emerged from the hall. Their gazes locked across the hollow hush. I felt the flare of your flame, Melisandre said, voice softer than memory. It guided me back through storms of ash. You have taken next forging. There will be more, Arya replied. Yes. The Red Woman eyed the dagger at Arya's hip. The blade yearns for tempering in a worthy heart, but hearts worthy seldom welcome steel. You will grapple with that truth. I'll choose my own forge, Arya said. Melisandre inclined her head. So you must. I came bearing counsel, not chain. They walked into the Godswood together. No guards followed. Beneath bare boughs, Melisandre knelt before the heart tree. The walker's new master is no creature of ice alone, she said. He strains against bonds older than the wall. R'hllor's flames devoured his armies once, so he seeks to bind the fire within himself. Blue fire born of shadows. Arya rested her hand upon the weirwood trunk, feeling thrum of ancient sap. Dole. What binds him now? The same prophecy that frees you binds him. Melisandre touched fallen snowflakes. Only a sword of living flame fronted by a soul reborn can unravel his veil. Then we sail for the spears of night. The priestess met her gaze. Take this. She withdrew an amulet, a sliver of rough red crystal set in braided leather. A shard of my heart flame. When doubt shrouds you, let it remind you of rebirth. Arya accepted, securing it around her neck beside a wolf head pendant once given by Robb. Will you come? I have walked too far along twilight. My part in this narrows to embers. Melisandre's smile carried resignation. If you return, we shall see dawn together. If you do not, I will keep vigil until dawn chooses another champion. Damn. Arya clasped the priestess's hands. For a moment, they shared warmth that transcended suspicion. Then Melisandre stood, turning into the gloom. Snow swallowed her silhouette, as though winter itself claimed the remnants of her journey. Nenderwan. Dawn broke, bruised with purple clouds. At the east gate, travelers assembled. Arya atop a sable mare, Gendry astride a stocky courser, Ghost loping beside. Tyrion mounted a palfrey too fine for the road, flanked by two Braavosi sailors carrying ledgers. Sansa embraced Arya, whispering, "Return. Whatever prophecy demands, demand yourself in equal measure." Jon clasped Arya's forearms. "Remember, duty is the shield that guards the realms of men. Sometimes duty is the knife that cuts new paths," she answered softly. He smiled wryly, then wheeled it well. Bran watched from ramparts. Ravens circled overhead, cawing 3 times before arrowing south, as if escorting them. Hooves clattered over drawbridge. Snow flurries swirled in farewell, tinged faint pink by dawn. Arya did not look back, her eyes fixed on the horizon where the world bent toward mysteries unsolved. Ghost trotted at her side, white fur luminous. The luminous dagger beat warmth through her thigh. In the hush of departure, she recalled the Weirwood's inscription. Dawn must be tempered, lest day burn. She wondered whose dawn, whose day. She resolved that if sacrifice lay ahead, she would shape it, not yield to it. The wind stiffened as they descended from Winterfell's hill, carrying distant sounds of smith hammers and children's laughter. Threads of life she defended now. She breathed deep, letting purpose settle like armor. The road south unfurled, curving east toward White Harbor where the Silver Swan awaited. And thus began the journey of Azor Ahai reborn, riding with a wolf at dawn toward seas, where shadow and fire clashed beyond mortal reckoning.